Okay, REST programming in Spring MVC. So here we're going to talk about how you can perform CRUD-based operations by sending REST calls, meaning HTTP calls. CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. We'll take a look at what tools we are going to use as a client. So basically we're going to use a call, but you could use other client tools, including browser, in fact. We can actually take a look at response body one more time, because as I said before, response body is used to create a response yourself, and that is typically used when you are handling REST client request. Okay, because REST client typically wants to get the data. They don't care about the HTML, right? Okay, so we'll talk about response body one more time. We'll talk about the concept of representations or format. So, typically client has a preference in terms of format of the response it wants to receive. It wants to receive the response data in the form of JSON or XML, things like that. We'll talk about the concept of XML. So when a client needs to receive the data, basically when the Java object needs to be converted into XML, you have to in fact use XML data binding technology such as JAX-B. So that's what we are going to use to give an instruction to the data binder, in this case Java object to XML converter, in terms of how it can convert a Java object into XML data. Then we'll actually see how create, update, and delete operation could be done. And then we are going to see how we can use the REST controller annotation. And then REST client using REST template. REST template is actually a class, standalone Java library that you can use to to send the REST request to your server. Now Java community has its own client library now, so that's probably something that you want to use instead of the REST template. REST template was actually provided by Spring community because at the time there was no standard REST client Java library. Now we do. Okay. By the way, I have the RESTful Programming Code Camp in when is it? So JPassion.com, and I think it's November 3rd and 4th. So this is 2 days, so we're not going to be able to cover all the topics we have in mind, but this is a pretty intensive Java REST programming code camp. Okay, so feel free to join this 2-day code camp later on, okay, in November. Okay, so moving forward, CRUD operations via REST calls. So this is typically the convention people use for performing CRUD-based operations. Okay, so by combining the verb, meaning HTTP verb, whether that is a post, get, put, delete, patch, and the noun, meaning the URL noun form, you can actually indicate what you want to do. So if you are using post and then collection URI, for example, post and then /songs, that means I'm actually adding a new song. So that's creating a new item. Okay. So combination of this verb HTTP method and the noun, meaning the URI pattern, will determine what operation you want to perform. So this is for creating a brand new item. If you want to read the multiple items, then you are going to pass get request. You're going to send the get request with a collections URI. So if you say songs, Beatles/songs, then you want to read all the songs of Beatles maybe. If you want to read a single item, then you're going to use get, and then you provide entry URI. So you say Beatles/songs/3. That means you want to read number 3 song of Beatles collection. Update, if you want to update the song, then you're going to use a put or patch. okay, then you provide entry URI. So if you say Beatles songs /3, then I want to update that song number 3 with updated value. Okay. If you're using put, you have to actually provide a complete data of that entry. If you're using patch, then you can just patch a partial data. Okay, we're going to mostly focus on put in this code camp. Delete is simple, so you specify delete operation by using delete HTTP method, and then you provide entry URI. So if you say delete and Beatles /song/3, then you want to delete the song number 3. Okay, so this is the convention that most people use to perform CRUD-based operations, and you want to actually write code to honor this convention in your server-side code. Okay, so client will actually use this annotation, not annotation. Any client will use this kind of convention to communicate with your server, a RESTful server application. So unless you actually follow this convention, they are going to be confused. Okay, moving forward. So this is another example. So you could have, in this case, we have orders and customers, right? So the orders is something that I kind of talked about already. So if you say get orders, then get all orders. If you say orders and post, then you are submitting a brand new order. Orders and /ID. So this is the entry URI pattern. And this is the collection pattern. So here you specify a particular entry ID. So here order /3. If you call get, then you're going to get all the detailed information of that particular order number 3. Put is updating that order. Delete is deleting that particular order. Now, RESTful operations are typically based on CRUD-based operations, like a create, update, and delete, and create, read, update, and delete. But you could also perform some kind of operation that are not really CRUD-based operations. For example, I could say order /average sale. Then I could actually take this average sale as an indication of computing average sale price for all the orders or something like that. Okay, so REST is not just for CRUD-based operations, even though CRUD-based operations are most popular. The operational model for RESTful application. Here customers are same deal, and the customers and customer/ID. Now this is actually interesting though. So I could have a customers and customer ID and then orders. So what I mean by this is that give me all orders of customer number 3. Okay, if I want to access order number 3 of the customer number 4, then it's going to be customers /4/orders and /3. Okay, so by having this URL, you can actually have a reasonably large percentage of the operations to be covered. Okay, and it is pretty simple. So that's the reason RESTful programming is quite popular as a choice of communication model. Okay, REST tools. So here we are talking about the client-side tools, and browser can actually send only mostly get operation. You could actually send a post as well, because if you happen to have a form, but in order to send the form, in order to send the post request, you have to create the form page as well. So that's not really a simple thing to do. So browser is used mostly for performing get operation. Okay. Now we certainly want to actually send the different kinds of HTTP method: post, put, delete, head, and options, and patch, and things like that. So we need something more powerful client-side tool. So call is a command line tool for sending and receiving REST requests and receiving responses. Okay, and you can perform all these operations: get, post, put, and delete, and call, head. Okay. Postman is a Chrome plugin for sending and receiving the REST requests and responses. It's more GUI based. Same thing with the REST client. So REST client is a Java application, and Postman is a Chrome plugin, but you can actually run it as a standalone application as well. Okay, so these are the client-side tools, and we are going to mostly use curl. Okay, because curl is actually simple to use. Okay, so exercise 1 is basically installation of the curl. For Mac and Linux, curl comes with it. So in order to see whether you guys have a curl or not, all you have to do is just type curl and see whether it comes back with some kind of health message. Okay, and if you don't see these things, that means you need to install curl. So we are going to so that is the installation of client curl. If you want, you can install the Postman Chrome plugin. It's actually probably the most powerful tool that is available at this point. Okay, this is the REST client is the Java application. So you can get the call from this location. Again, I believe the Mac and Linux, it comes with it, so you don't really have to download it. But if you're using Windows, you have to download it and install it. This is a Postman. So Postman is so let me see if I have a Postman here. Where do I have a Postman? Yeah, so I'm actually running Postman as the standalone yeah, here you go, desktop application. So once you install it as a Chrome plugin, it gives you an option to install it as a standalone application. Okay. Then it basically give you so this is the URL, and you can actually select the different wow, there are a lot of methods you can actually execute, you can call. Then you can set the headers, and then it actually lets you save this this command so that you can click it later on and things like that. So that is basically a save operation. So this is probably the most powerful GUI based REST client. Okay, so that is Postman. And the third one is REST client. So I actually make the REST client, yeah, it's actually a jar file. Okay, so I made it available on my website. Okay, so you just download it, and if you want to run this guy, basically all you have to do is just run this way. So let me just download it on my lab files. So I'm gonna go to labs here, and once it's downloaded, you should be able to run it as a Java file. Okay, it looks like it's about 15 megabyte. Yeah, alright, so yeah, I'm gonna just run it here. So I have actually a REST client batch file that actually run it in the right location. So if you run it, then you're gonna actually see this Java GUI application being displayed, and then you can you can actually perform, you can select whatever, and you can set the header, you can set the cookies, bodies, authentication, SSL, and then in order to send the request, you just click this guy, and the response will be received, and you can see the response in headers, response body, and test result, and things like that. So once you have a RESTful server up and running, we might actually try Postman and the REST client just to demonstrate, but mostly we are going to use curl. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna give you guys about 5 minutes to at least install curl, and then we'll actually move on. Okay. Alright, so let's see.